Hello everybody and welcome back to the SCSL Season 4 Round of 16. We're here for match number 5, Best versus JYJ. This may be one of our closest matchups in the round of 16. Hard to tell who's going to go forward here. I would have to put my money on Best, but JYJ is a strong contender. Could definitely give us some upsets here. It is a best of 5, so there are quite a few games to be played, but not quite as long of a series as we're used to in best of 7.
Right. I mean, I don't think this is going to be anywhere near like the Hmong versus Hero game, but I actually do think this is going to be a somewhat best-sided stomp. JYJ is a stronger player than someone like Hmong, but Hmong's actually way better in TVP than JYJ is. So I actually think if this was Best versus Hmong, it actually would have been a really cool matchup to watch. I think as it stands, Best is just too much of a specialist at what he does. His fundamental Protoss versus Terran play, it's just off the record. If you want to learn how to play Protoss, Best is the guy to study. Someone like Snow is a bit more of a finesse kind of player, hard to emulate because of how micro-orientated he is. Someone like Mini's a great optimizer and will teach you how to squeeze as much juice out of the orange, but Best is the guy you want to look for just solid fundamental macro Protoss and how he controls his army and strategizes by moving around the map and forcing the Terran into bad engagements and what have you. Best is the guy to study.
I'm sure that Hmong would have been happier going up against Best here. In fact, any Protoss player would have been better than going up against Hero. Got the short end of the stick this season. But we'll see what JYJ can do here. He is more of a TVZ specialist, so both these two Terran players, the last two Terrans, have gotten a bit of a raw deal. Would have liked to switch opponents if they could, but that's not an option. Guys, we're going to be hopping into game number 1. Let's get this best of 5 started. All right, kicking off on Best's map pick. We've got him over here in the top right, JYJ down in the bottom left. So yes, this was picked by Best.
No surprise there.
Yeah. Well, why do you say that, Xun?
It's just, you're guaranteeing a gas steal pretty much every single time, unless you're blocking the ramp with an SCV or taking your gas at 10 supply, which is just not optimal in either case. I mean, you can do it, it's just not great. And it also allows you to go for a Nexus first behind the gas steal. You can see JYJ just doesn't have the minerals to build that gas on 11 supply, which is usually the earliest you want to make that gas, unless you want to go for something like a 10 racks, 10 factory proxy and go super all in. So yeah, the problem with this map for Terran players is that Protoss are almost always going to get that guaranteed gas steal, and they can follow this up with a very quick Nexus, and there's not too much the Terran can do to respond to that with the force cross positions.
To be a little worried here too as the Terran, like maybe Protoss throws down gateways in the middle of the map or something. It's hard to scout those. That's another way to follow up this sort of early gas steal. But it's like you say, Best's going to be taking his Nexus, and it'll be up to JYJ to go ahead and find out about that and respond accordingly. And there isn't really much he can do to try to punish this. All he can do, most likely, is take his own CC on low ground as soon as possible.
Right, I mean, sometimes you can kind of be a little bit cheesy as Terran. You can make a second barracks in proxy out on the map and make a large amount of Marines and try and go for a bit of a pull the boys situation and try and bowl over the Protoss player. Depends on what variant they're doing. Like you can see Best here's only got one single gateway, and he's being a little bit greedy with this. And as you can see, JYJ is just going to pull the boys. As soon as he scouts that there's only one gateway and that Best is trying to do the greedy variant, he's going to try and punish this by, pulling these SCVs and putting on a lot of pressure onto Best. And with only one singular gateway worth of Zealots coming out, it's very difficult to stop something like this, assuming good micro from the Terran player. So Best's going to throw down a shield battery, in 2 shield batteries actually, to try and buy as much time as possible and try and hold the line against this.
Nice job getting on top of the bunker there early. Prevents that from getting a lot of HP. And the probes are going to go ahead and run around behind. It's a little bit rough because, oh, he gets a probe. He can't get in the rally point of the Marines that are coming forward. So now, as those SCVs pull back to deal with the Zealot, he will be able to get into that rally point. Diving on top of the fourth Marine, excuse me, will get it. So the fourth Marine does go down. He should be able to prevent, sort of like how Zerg players will prevent SCVs from coming across the map during a bunker rush, and Marines during a bunker rush. He's going to be going ahead and dealing with any further Marines coming here with those probes. Nice surround on that Zealot there, but the shield batters are just buying so much time for these Zealots to keep on killing SCVs, and a lot of SCVs have gone down so far.
I mean, that's the main problem is that the probes and SCVs are still out on the map and not mining. So this is hurting Best unless he can kill these Marines, and this is definitely hurting JYJ because of how many SCVs have gone down. He's intercepting these Marines, is killing a few of them. I mean, if he kills 2 of these probes, it's not too bad. Does he get the second? Okay, he does get the second probe kill, so that's actually not too bad for JYJ there. Like, he's killed like 3 or 4 of these probes that were sent out onto the map. He has lost a lot of SCVs, so he kind of needs to keep doing damage to Best and put him on a bit of a clock. It's going to be a long time coming until there's any Dragoons, especially of range, coming out to defend against this. Best is predominantly going to be relying on these slow Zealots to try and stop this aggression in its tracks. JYJ is still looking for compensation. This is a big investment from him early game. He still kind of needs to do some damage to Best to make this playable.
It's a little unfortunate for JYJ here. I think he kind of messed up with the rallies. Rallying straight through that middle lane. Didn't have to keep doing that. He could have absolutely started rallying along the top, and now he's got not enough Marines here to make this hold. He's gonna fall back to the second bunker. Nice job keeping these Marines alive for as long as possible. Trying to repair here. Another Zealot goes down, so he's actually getting a fair number of Zealots, but eventually this will be held, and no kill on that Nexus puts Best in a great position.
Yeah, he didn't even kill one of those probes in transit to the natural as well. He did try and target fire one of those down to find any kind of compensation here, and he just didn't achieve it. Really well played from Best. Like, there's not many Protoss players that could have held an aggressive pull like that as cleanly as Best did. It's actually really impressive that he's been able to navigate this so cleanly. Did lose a few of those probes, which were intercepting Marines, but it now will get value for these 2 Zealots here. Killing a couple of these Marines, there's not quite enough of a force from JYJ to trade well with these Zealots, and kind of getting value out of making those defenses early, as well as forcing more and more Marines out of JYJ to make sure he doesn't just die to like a run by from these Zealots. So yeah, I mean, all things considered, this is a great situation for Best. It's really hampered the economic potential of JYJ indirectly.
JYJ hurting himself, I think, pretty badly with this attack. He saw the probes run by, and he saw which lane the probes, more importantly, which lane the probes were going to go deny those Marines at. So had he pulled back the Marines that were already in that lane and sent the rest of the Marines over to like the top lane or the bottom lane, he could have gotten them to the front with some safety, but he just kept rallying straight across the map and losing Marines over and over again to just a few probes. It's a bit of a sad spot, a sad state we've got here from JYJ, and this is already a very difficult map to take games against the Protoss players. So JYJ is going to hang in there, but he is going to have a really tough time winning this one.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, there's just not really any counterplay for JYJ. If he is going to win this game, it's going to be way down the line. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't going to be a victory in like 10 minutes time. This is going to be a victory in the super late game after getting some really good trades from against Best, and then getting a maxed out +3 weapons attack upgrade army. Like, there's just not going to be much way of JYJ doing anything but just turtling up and hoping for the best here. I guess he could go for some kind of timing with like a 5 factory play, but I just don't think it's going to be successful against Best. He's just set up way too well now.
Best is extremely good at dealing with those type of timing attacks as well. he seems to shut them down better than just about anybody else. So trying one of those attacks against him when you're already in a bad position, it seems like suicide. But JYJ's got to be feeling the pressure here. He has to pull something off. Got to pull a rabbit out of the hat, a magic trick that's going to fool Best, because straight up play, Best will absolutely take this away.
I mean, he's going for a 3-factory pressure build style, but it's not even to be aggressive. It's literally just to not die. Like, he's so far behind the curve of the game that he needs an aggressive style of opening just to be able to produce enough units not to straight up die. I imagine he's even making a 4th factory to be able to have enough unit production to have any hopes of taking a 3rd base here. This is going to be like one of those games which Artosis describes as the Protoss player just sitting in an arc and not allowing you to expand. And I imagine that that's going to be the game theory from Best here. He doesn't even need to be hyper aggressive, just needs to stop JYJ securing any kind of map control. He's already shutting down these vultures from coming out onto the majority of these lanes. They have to go to the south hemisphere of the map, and he's already going to be intercepting that and pincer moving those vultures from both sides if he's not careful.
JYJ correctly assumed there was going to be a probe down in bottom right, and he went to go and intercept that, but unfortunately for him, pylon wall comes up in time. Best will get his 4th base online here and may be able to kill off these vultures as well as he's bringing the observer over. Will start to move in that direction. It was a good attempt there from JYJ, but Best not going to get slowed down at all. And here we go. Vulture run by. Go ahead.
I just like the cerebral play from Best. Like, he's like anticipating JYJ's moves ahead of time. Like, this is like really high level game theory from Best. He's assuming what's the best move my opponent can make and how can I best smack that down. And every single time he seems to be able to align himself with these decisions. And I think a lot of times Best is actually really underrated. I know people know he's good from his ASL performance, but I think people really do not quite get it in how this guy is able to navigate these decision trees really effectively and kind of always put himself into a favorable trade or a favorable position no matter what cards he's dealt. And in this case, he's got almost a royal flush.
That's for sure. He's got a great hand here. We'll see how he plays it. Running forward, Bulldog on the high ground. Zealots on top of those tanks. Zealots going to be dropped in the middle here. There's quite a few mines. Oh, the mine just barely doesn't go off there. Zealots coming up from behind. There's no speed just yet, but it's about to kick in, and so many tanks are dying as this round of Zealots makes its way into the natural. The last of the tanks is going to go down, and GG is called. Best just crushing through, and even with that kind of aggressive build there, it's not going to be enough for him to hold on, even to his natural. That's a rough position.
Oh, it's kind of crazy saying, like, I'm not too surprised. This is what Best does best, pun intended. He cracks open Terran defensive positions better than anyone else on the planet. It's actually kind of eerie what he can pull off. And even in a situation where the Terran has got a much stronger economy and production, he'll still manage to crack open the most fortified of positions with that gateway man style. His unit control and decision making is unparalleled in how he engages Terran and forces trades just to, you know, reduce the tank count and control the state of the game over and over again. It's nothing that we're new to, watching this absolute gorilla of a player execute like that, and just rips off the arms of his opponents and beats them to death with them.
Excellent game 1 from Best. We're going to be jumping now into game number 2. I love the double shield battery as well. That was a sick play to hold on to that Nexus. Game number 2. Let's jump in. Here we are. Game number 2. JYJ bottom right. Best in the top left. Got that brown color. I swear to you, Xun, brown is the color that comes up the most, and it's the one that I hate the most as well. It seems like it's always brown when I play on ladder.
Oh man, I mean, it's a shame that you can't control your colors on the ladder. It is a bit of an unfortunate situation to be in. But I mean, it is what it is, and maybe you're just rolling the dice a little bit too unlucky, or maybe they've given you some loaded dice. I don't know what quite's going on there, but just use Shift Tab twice, make yourself teal, make them red, and just, you know, forget it's even a factor.
Yeah, that's generally what I end up having to do. It is what it is. But looks like we're not going to get that color change here. JYJ going to remain the brown stain in the bottom right-hand corner. Best. Coming across the map here on Deja Vu, looking for that natural. But he isn't going to find it here just yet. May even end scout. He's actually looking down in bottom left. Maybe he wants to find out if JYJ is in close positions first here, so that he can make his next decision.
Now, this is actually a pretty good map for Terran, I would like to point out. Like, by quite a margin. We're talking like 55 to 45 kind of margins here. So I imagine that if JYJ is going to mount some kind of comeback and, you know, put himself back into a winning position, he has to win on this map here to have any chance at defeating Best. If Best is taking him down in a similar convincing fashion on Deja Vu as well as Eclipse, there's just no hope for JYJ. Not just because it's going to be 2-0 down, but he should be winning on this map. It's one of the more Terran versus Protoss favorited maps, and we'll have to wait and see if he can actually make that eventuality a reality. I mean, he's not getting gas stolen this time. It looked like that factory was pretty crisply timed with his mineral optimizations as well, so he's definitely going to have a much more playable game position going forward, and I would like to see him equalize it.
Yeah, we always want to see a good long series, a hotly contested series. See if JYJ can bring us that today. He has a good spot here on Deja Vu, and he's going to be sending in that SCV now, scouting everything out, sees the Nexus, the timing. He knows what's the range of play available to Bast at this moment, and as he sees the Zealot coming up here, going to retreat to his Sim City, which is nicely set up in preparation for exactly what's going on right here, right now. Targeting down that probe. The probe gets the kill there with the moving shot. That was a pretty decent play from Best. Delaying the number of Marines here. Once you get to about 4 Marines, it's pretty one-sided, the Zealot versus Marine battle. But if you can keep delaying here, things get a little out of control. There's the Vulture popping out and dealing with that Zealot finally. All told, 1 Marine goes down for Zealot plus probe.
I would say that's really good control from both sides. Like, if JYJ was any more lackluster in his bio control there, he would have lost 2 Marines to that probe for sure, and Best was really on top of like chasing down those Marines with that particle beam moving shot, but couldn't quite find the connections on those last 2 remaining Marines. So I'd say that's really well done from JYJ. Needs to be careful not to take any more hits on this Vulture. It's already 2 shots from dying. Oh no, this is super greedy from JYJ. A big mistake. He's trying to put a bit of extra damage onto that Dragoon. J off the shields with true damage. Due to the damage types, you can do 20 damage per shot to the shields, but not to the hull. He wants to weaken up that Dragoon for those Marines to punish, but he doesn't get the compensation in the way of killing that Dragoon. So losing that Vulture was definitely not worth it.
Definitely not, just for some shields. We talk often about the first Vulture and whether it's worth killing, you know, 2, 3, 4 probes. When is it actually worth it to let that die before Mines comes out? And just taking off the shields, I mean, too much finesse, flying too close to the sun there. JYJ looking to get that little bit of extra damage and get out with a sliver of HP. It doesn't work out in his favor, but he's going to follow this up with Marine tank push, knowing that one of these Dragoons at least is on low HP.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be too fancy against someone like Best. He's going to just absolutely demolish you. He doesn't need any help in getting a favorable position. And he's going to play super solid. He's actually going to go 3-gate Robo Observer. This is like the safest cookie cutter way of playing Protoss. He knows this is a bit of a funky map for Protoss sometimes, and he wants to shut down any kind of like 3 factory pressure or 5 tank push or anything that could be coming his way from JYJ. He knows that he needs to be just super solid, and no matter what does occur, he'll be in a much more favorable position with how these little early game shenanigans have gone down. There's no mines to slow down the third, for example. So JYJ going to be desperate to find some compensation and make up the deficit, probably with a 3 tank push. And Best's going to be able to smack that down because of this extra gateway production.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how the engagement goes. Of course, one connection on a mine can change everything, but he should have the tools necessary to deal with this 3-tank push. Hopefully JYJ realizes the Dragoon number is a little higher than maybe it should be. This third base a little bit later than maybe he expected, and can pull back to keep all of those tanks alive. If he loses all 3 of these tanks, it is absolute catastrophe. Almost as bad of a position at that point as he had in the last game, so he's really got to take this one careful.
I would say so. He's got 2 vultures for free now. Needs to rely predominantly on these siege tanks. Does have a pretty good position up on that high ground. A good micro back from Best. Takes out most of the soaking units of those marines. Now jumping on top of the tank on the low ground, as well as starting to get a little bit of damage on that tank on the high ground. Quite a lot of misses though so far. Is getting some good trades. Mines laid in the wake of those dragoons as well, despite the observers being here to spot for those. That's a pretty big mine connection like you were talking about. That's the kind of thing JYJ needs to make this attack actually successful. And so far, so good here for JYJ. That wasn't the worst trade possible. He's not in a game-winning position yet, but now he has an opportunity to wedge between this natural and third and really start to put the pressure on Best.
My goodness, the mine that almost went off and connected on top of these tanks. Oh, and he loses that tank there. Oof. And then the mine that actually did go off gets such an amazing connection. Can he get the shots here? He does connect. That 50% miss chance, not saving the tank there, and it's just pure vulture rally from 2 factories, and so JYJ not going to be able to get much done here. He does get one more lucky mine connection. However, Best is now going to start to push forward here, get rid of these vultures so that he can regain control over this third base.
If this wasn't 3-gate observer, if this was just something like a 2-gate observer play from Best, then I think JYJ would be in a much more commanding position. But Best was just so adept at recognizing the only way this can go bad for him. Well, these are pretty good interception from the vultures, though, catching at least 2, maybe 3 of these probes. It's not the worst trades in the world. Okay, only gets like 2 of them in total. Has more vultures ready to pounce on this mineral line at the third base while he's distracted, clearing up the minefield.
Oh, can he get in there? Barely not able to do it. Oh, that pylon comes down just in the nick of time. Looks like he gets 1 probe off of that. I think it was because he was waiting for Vulture speed to finish, and the moment it finished, he tried to slip in. It doesn't end up working out for JYJ. He lost all of those tanks. Man, if that second tank had stayed alive rather than diving forward to get that 1 Dragoon, maybe he could have repaired that back up. Then the tank on the high ground is way more difficult to get rid of. That secondary tank firing causes Best to sit back a lot longer and not saturate this base, and things just get worse and worse from there. But JYJ, he has been cleared, he has been pushed back, and he lost all 3 of those tanks, so his position is looking a bit dire.
No, you're absolutely right, saying if he just kept that second tank a little bit more hesitant to move out and repaired those 2 tanks up with the SCV he had on standby. He had an SCV there, he could have repaired those tanks gradually. We'll get some vultures into the natural. At least a few of these probes will go down. Does pull those probes to intercept those vultures and try and help the units clear them up as quickly as possible. Not the best of mine connections that he was looking for, but has killed a decent amount of probes. I just don't think that's going to be enough to make this worth it for JYJ. Now he hasn't got many vultures defending at home. Might have to even evacuate his own natural expansion or pull them back. The shuttle as well, going to be diving on top of the tanks. Reaver is involved. Now going to make some good Scarab connections, as well as the siege tank being targeted down on the ramp. A lot of desperation plays now from JYJ trying to stabilize here. Best just wants to trade off as many units of the possible. SCVs on the low ground did a great job in body blocking and putting some damage onto those Dragoons with the fusion cutters. So when all said and done, he did trade pretty good. So JYJ not in the most worst of positions here. But still, I think Best, the longer this game goes on, the worse it'll be for JYJ. But there is a bit of a window here for JYJ. He wants to move out, but Best knows it. Look at this game theory from Best. He knows JYJ wants to move out, and he's ready to pounce on these tanks immediately afterwards. It's kind of crazy how aggressive Best is being, but look at this. He's barely killing these tank units, and it's just insane. The game theory from Best is so high level.
Full on ape mode there from Best, just running up that ramp with a bunch of Dragoons, but it's working out all right. He's keeping the game scrappy and the tank count low. And he will be able to recontrol this high ground here, and JYJ is sitting with 1 tank at his natural, the second one popping out. It'll be very hard for him to secure a third base, and that's really what he needs at this point. He cannot issue any sort of an attack aside from just raiding with some vultures. It's really up to JYJ to get this third base online and try to slow down Best with those vultures.
I think Best is like the only guy that can make decisions like that and make them look smart rather than suicidal, because like he's assuming, okay, he just cleared my army. What's he going to want to do? He's going to want to move out because he thinks he's safe. So what was he not going to expect? Another round of Dragoons suddenly showing up unsupported by Zealots or Shuttles just to quickly pounce on top of 2 siege tanks, get some snipes on there and reduce the pushing power of this Terran from both coming out and threatening me as well as securing his own third base. I mean, it's just really high level stuff from Best here. He's not necessarily got this game in the bag. I'm just loving his decision making.
This is certainly a playable game, and maybe made even more playable with JYJ dropping center left. Dragoons cannot get in there. This is an excellent drop play from him, from JYJ. Oh, yeah. He's going to be able to drop right on top of this, start to kill a lot of probes. The probes are actually trying to fight this. He wants to get on top of those vultures immediately and try to get rid of them, but so many probes are going down here. This is really painful, and JYJ can load up again and go into the main.
This is great for JYJ. He's done a lot of damage with this attack, but look at this. Best finding compensation anyway. 2 Reavers in the main base. SCV's so lucky it was in the center of the CC and didn't die for a while. Eventually does slow down the production of that expansion building, and now the Reavers will be taken out gradually. This is not necessarily better damage for Best, and overall this is way more favoring JYJ, these trades. He can also cycle these vultures into the main base now. If Best was a little bit sloppy and sent all of his units down to defend here, he might still lose some probes in his main. JYJ actually hasn't pulled the trigger on this. Is kind of weird from JYJ. He's kind of just threatening the idea of this dropship dropping into the main to try and keep some of the units of Best pinned back as long as possible. It seems like JYJ is just scared of being counterattacked right now and wants to keep an active threat of a vulture drop from reoccurring to not allow Best to be too hyper aggressive right now.
Sometimes the threat of a drop is even more scary or more impactful than the drop itself. He's going to keep that over there at the center left, making sure that Best needs to commit some forces over there, looking for any sort of probes heading down to bottom left. He knows he has to continue to stop a 4th base, since he doesn't even have his own 3rd online just yet. There's a probe heading down to bottom left. Looks like he's going to send 1 vulture to deal with that. Will he get it before the probe builds the Nexus? No, the Nexus goes down. JYJ lets that go down, and here comes a push from JYJ, or from Best, excuse me, jumping on top of JYJ's position here as he tries to take the 3rd. He's got to re-lift off that CC, run away, save that CC at all costs. If that CC goes down, this game is just about over for JYJ.
Oh, that's nuts. And it was softened up by the Reaver as well, I think, before he floated it. Oh, that's really unfortunate. He's going to try and engage with the Protoss Force head-on, but it's not enough. The command center does fall, and Best still doing a bit of a cleanup on aisle 5, trying to trade off some of these units to prevent any counterattacks. He knows that there's a chance of JYJ pushing this base in the bottom left and stopping that from going online, and Best just wants to keep all of JYJ's focus into this defensive position, trying to secure his own 3rd base and not allow him to think about attacking horizontally over to this. But he actually does manage to get enough damage on to that Nexus with a Vulture building. I mean, that's actually pretty nice for JYJ that he was able to shut that down with such few units. Best, though, can just expand, to this 12 o'clock position instead. And this will be a much easier position for Best to defend. And now that he's shut down the 3rd base of JYJ, he is not worried at all.
4th base is pretty slow, but everything is slow in this game as JYJ is still struggling to take that 3rd base. His main and natural are about to mine out, guys. You need to keep at least a 2-base economy rolling as the Terran player, otherwise you're just not really able to fight. Best getting this 4th base online is going to maintain at least that 3 bases of minerals for the time being. Here in the main, there's almost nothing left, so really you can only count 3 bases here, but that's enough to keep slamming out these units and going head-to-head with the Terran army that certainly does not have a really good upgrade timing either. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think JYJ should just be trying to split the map vertically in this situation. Sometimes, you know, attack is the best form of defense. He can take the third base again, try and push up to the north and stop Best from rapidly expanding to this northeast quadrant of the map. Also, though, JYJ needs to kind of leapfrog an expansion over here. Maybe he could build another CC in this third base location to float up to where this vulture is now later on. Needs to really start to put the pressure on Best. He can't allow these 5 bases to become set up. He'll be on 1 base economy to at least 3 bases worth of mining of Best. That's not a tenable position at all. So JYJ could maybe abuse this donut ring in the center and kind of bottleneck and funnel the Protoss player into unfavorable frontal engagements, but Best is going to be aware of that. He's going to have High Templars, Shuttles, and Storms, and really try and find good engagements and not allow JYJ to set up these strong frontal army trades that he's going to need to win. Best is going to really start to apply pressure to JYJ now with these speed shuttles, dropping his base and forcing him to keep a lot of units pinned back to defend against the threat of these drops.
I'm really surprised we have JYJ with +2. I know that he got the starport pretty early on, but I didn't think he could afford that +2 upgrade, and of course the science facility that goes along with it. I expected him to add another add-on to his factory, make sure that he had enough tanks coming out since he lost so many early on, but we saw the results of this kind of low unit count style from JYJ. Trying to get into that quick upgrade has really hurt him here in his third base timing. However, now with that +2 and 192 supply, maybe he can make something happen. At least he's got this late game. As that second upgrade comes online, he's maybe even getting this third upgrade as well, pushing towards the middle of the map. Can he hold that center base and fight Best out in a long game for bottom left?
I think that JYJ has identified the same thing I have. He needs to attack around the edge of this donut ring on the vertical side and just try and knock out some of these expansions as well as securing his own fourth that way. Best might do some small counterattacks on the southern hemisphere, but I don't think that he will do too much of that. I think he realizes very soon that he's going to be forced to engage with the Terran, which is very JYJ favored in this position. Best needs perfect execution to hold off this advancement from JYJ. It's a great wing condition that the Terran has been able to start to isolate. A little bit of skirmishes from Best with these storms. He's got a small counterattack in force, engaging now at the southern hemisphere at the rally point location, just to draw a little bit of attention from JYJ and force him to respond to this. Buy himself a few precious seconds. Obviously, when both players are maxed out, we've got that +3 weapons upgrade just finishing up for JYJ now. This is the best position for him to start trading with Best, but Best wants to kind of play counterattack and keep away and circumnavigate direct engagements as a result, and try and use his superior production to keep up with JYJ. But as long as JYJ can stay almost maxed out, Best is in a lot of trouble. So depends how tentative JYJ can push and get these value trades that he needs. So far, is looking really impressive for JYJ. He's really bullying back Best into bad spots here. He's got a few tanks left at the rally point as well to cover this counterattack potential. He's being quite fluid with his units as well, pulling back a lot of them to defend against this and prevent some critical damage from occurring. This is a really well executed engagement and push to the northern hemisphere from JYJ. I think that he might be able to dispatch Best if he keeps this up.
Yeah, this looks like a powerful play right until one of these attacks doesn't work. As soon as this army gets wiped out, it's over. There's no way for JYJ to replenish here on one base. He's got this army, and then that's it. 195 supply dropping now to 193 as a bunch of storms go down. From this high ground, killing off quite a few tanks, pushing over here to the high ground. Is that really the right decision? My goodness, the storms just annihilating masses of these units, dropping down to 163 just like that from pure energy.
I mean, it's kind of insane. Like, Best is like, this isn't even my final form. With just a few flicks of his finger, he can suddenly cut you down to size. It's kind of ridiculous. JYJ is playing more or less how he should. He's got this floating CC to try and take this fourth base. He was quite desperate to knock out this base from Best and secure it for himself, and Best knew that And he's with the most fewest units possible. He's already kind of turned the tables a little bit back in his favor, has best, and he's going to put JYJ on the clock by securing this southwestern quadrant and establishing a third rally point. That's kind of a win condition for Protoss when you have all 3 rally points secured. It's so hard for the Terran to contain that and deal with it. Big push now from JYJ, trying to knock out this base at the 12 o'clock position with some preemptive D-matrixes to force bad trades, even if he did have Sonic Storm to slow that down. And now, after distracting Best just for a few seconds, going to rotate back around to this natural in the top right, try and knock out these bases while he still can. He's got very limited time to make this work and very limited resources to do so. But if he does somehow knock out these 2 bases in the top right and secure his 4th base now, he can still go the way.
He's trying to take the center of the map, but he doesn't have a very good position there. Big EMP getting rid of some of these Templars. Their storms disappear, and Best is suddenly looking a little bit vulnerable, man. I thought he was going to be able to come up here and save this 12 o'clock, maybe even save top right, the main base, or the natural. Just kind of surprising that Best is not pulling the trigger on something. 1,700 minerals in the bank, and he's not just going for it on any of these tank lines. He's biding his time, waiting for JYJ to make that big move, and he is taking the center now. So Best is taking a big engagement here in the middle of the map. Can he shut down this second base of mining? He isn't going to be able to stop that, and no storms here to kill off all the precious SCVs in the middle either.
Yeah, the longer this goes on, the more hope I'm seeing for JYJ. It's still not over yet for Best. He's still got a great position to work with. It's going to be so hard to knock out this base in the very top right, for example. This tank being a little bit annoying here in the bottom left. If only Best could identify that tank is only on 6 health, even with the 1 armor here, those 3 probes would actually kill that siege tank. He hasn't quite identified that that siege tank has such low HP, unfortunately, so he's going to wait for some units to show up to clean that up. He is going to knock out the expansion in the top right, but it's still going to be a little bit of a task to knock out all of the gateways and the nexus that's still mining up here. This is one of the main lifelines of Best in this game. If JYJ can somehow knock that base out on the top right, it's going to be great. Here comes a massive engagement in the center of the board, though. Best trying to dive onto the speed shuttles, unloading a lot of zealots on top of these siege tank lines. Preemptive D-matrix, well, that's some pretty good storms on the northern flank of tanks. There's some reinforcements rotating in from the rally point of JYJ. A little bit slow to react, though, and Best pouncing on top of this defensive line very effectively. This is what Best does better than any other Protoss player. He absolutely annihilates defensive lines like they don't even exist, and JYJ taps out just like that after playing that well for so long and being in such a favorable position. Best still just apes his way through to a victory. I mean, you've got to hand it to him. There's nothing that really compares.
Yeah, well played indeed by Best, getting in there and taking out JYJ. There was some shakiness in the early game from JYJ as well. That push that came out that tried to break the natural there for Best, countered very well with the 3-gate observer. It was close, though, with some really lucky mine connections. It looked like that was actually going to get some really good value, but in the end,
right,
he managed to clear that all out without too much difficulty. Then it was that back foot from then on for JYJ, trying to hold on to his natural and losing his 3rd base. It's so hard to come back as a Terran player when you lose that 3rd command center. Even in a normal game, it is almost impossible. This is a crazy game, a crazy TVP, lots of back and forth, and JYJ, credit where credit is due. He hung in there and made it still a game.
Yeah, no, the game plan from JYJ was exceedingly solid. It was kind of unfortunate that he had to be relegated to taking the center as his 4th. He really wanted to take that natural in the top right as his 4th. But Best was just so good at playing fundamental PvT and holding the line, storming from the high ground, exactly what you should do in that situation. He was able to play keep away for so long and just circumnavigate any direct engagements until the last possible moment. It's so hard to do that. Like in most situations, Terrans can kind of bait the Protoss into bad fights and lose a few Dragoons here and there, and eventually the maxed out Terran will just steamroll the Protoss force. But Best just remaining calm under pressure, and despite JYJ really like laying onto him as much as possible. That pressure just ended up turning him into a diamond ape, and he ended up smashing face like he always does.
Well, we're ready. Let's jump into our next game. What could be the final game of the series. This is a best of 5, so game number 3 with best 2-0. Let's jump right in. Back to best map pick, Metropolis, with JYJ in the top, in the bottom left, excuse me. Best in the top left. There we go. There's some better colors. Purple versus yellow. Nice, and it pops on the mini map, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely say this is a lot better than brown, saying. And can we just point out, pretty good spawns for JYJ. If these spawns were reversed, you wouldn't really like this for Terran because they have to expand kind of towards the Protoss. But in this case, the 6 o'clock third base is much more aligned for a favorable position for JYJ.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that last map was supposed to be his map. He was supposed to win there. That was his map pick.
Right.
Eclipse, obviously, really difficult map, but Deja Vu, he was supposed to take that away. And now he's here at a 2-0 deficit on best map pick again. Hopefully this position is good enough to overcome the odds here and allow JYJ to start bringing the series back.
I just want to say that it's really interesting that this is one of the best actual map picks. Like, Metropolis, quite well known as a pretty Terran-sided map, assuming that there's no bad spawns to worry about. So I'm wondering if Best is just really comfortable with PvT on this map. Maybe he's just, I mean, he has had a lot of success in shutting down timing attacks. We saw in the ASL against like players like Light, he just seemed unstoppable no matter what you threw at him. Even if you like pulled like crazy amounts of SCVs along with Marines, Vultures, and Tanks, and really start to go for a all-in timing attack, Best can still smack that down with excellent probe pulls and what have you. Maybe Best just feels super comfortable on this map. I don't think a lot of Protoss players are picking it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's interesting that he has this as his map number 3. But he's got to be brimming with confidence. His performance lately has been fantastic, and today is no different. JYJ is falling by the wayside, and this series that we thought was going to be one of the closer ones is careening towards the cliff. We're almost at the end if Bass manages to close it out here.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be kind of blowing me away if Best 3-0s in this situation, just because 2 of these maps have been pretty Terran-sided. Eclipse is obviously Protoss favored, but Deja Vu and Metropolis definitely leaning a lot more towards Terran. So with also the spawns kind of favoring JYJ here, I have to imagine this would be kind of a bit of a surprise for Best to win 3-0. Certainly he can do it though. JYJ is not a Terran versus Protoss specialist by any stretch of the imagination. He's a Terran versus Zerg guy, and his TVP is a little bit on the lackluster side. Someone like Mong would have performed way better against Best here, but still on some of these maps, JYJ should technically be taking games off Best.
This is interesting what we're seeing right now. Best did not open Nexus first, but we're getting a SCV pull with Marines anyway. He's going to try and bunker rush this. It's a skipped. Yeah. He skipped Zealot and got the Nexus out really quickly here with a Dragoon. And so he's caught a lot. He's been very greedy, but can JYJ still punish this? I think there's a good possibility he can at least get a big group of probes. Get lots of those kills. He doesn't have a probe critically out on the map. He's got nothing to drill to. This is pretty difficult to jump on top of these Marines. Can he actually do it? Good target fire here on the probes, getting a few of them down. A couple of SCVs have fallen, and this bunker is getting low. As many probes as he can. That's what Best is looking for right now. Or, excuse me, JYJ.
Yeah, JYJ. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty good for him, though. He's done a great job of utilizing the HP as a resource on these 2 Dragoons. They've been alive for a long time, just hammering away JYJ faced disruption shots. He's killed a lot of these SCVs. Needs to be careful. Both these Dragoons are low. He needs to wait for this third Dragoon to join the party and kind of act as point defense. But look at this great target find from JYJ, killing quite a lot of those probes. He needs to find compensation right here, right now. Trying to pounce on this second Dragoon that's also low. We'll be able to find the kill on that. But this final Dragoon that's now fresh on HP will hold the line, re-secure the expansion, and Best is in a pretty good spot. JYJ did kill a lot of workers. The only problem is that, you know, with 2 Nexuses, you can produce those workers at double the rate of your opponent. So despite initially JYJ finding some favorable trades, Best will catch up in economy.
Gotta say, those supplies telling the story, 19 to 28. JYJ doesn't have that CC up just yet, but if he goes ahead and pushes across the map, you can't make both. You can't make double probes production here and add gateways and get Dragoons. Like, it's just not gonna happen. You're gonna sit here most likely on 1 gateway, make some Dragoons, and just try to hold on. And so JYJ is just going to continue this pressure. He is not going to slow this down, and he could just easily get the kill here if Best is cutting any corners right now.
This is the one way that JYJ can actually win the game, because there's not a lot of production from Best. There's going to be 3 Dragoons trying to hold the line against a pretty well-timed, strong FD timing kind of esque push. It's got some SCVs to act as linebackers as well and soak up some shots. Quite a few Marines as well, forcing Beck back to the ramp, forces him to pull the probes. Exactly what JYJ wants, so he can target fire down probes as well. But that tank does get sniped. That's really well done from Best. This probe control is absolutely insane. The controlling of distance between the probes and the Dragoons is almost perfect. Does lose a couple of those probes on the exit, but really well held from Best thus far. JYJ starting to make a bunker, targets down the SCVs, producing that bunker with the probes helping out. Goons trying to desperately hold the line against this. Best will be in a great position as long as he can trade off these SCVs as well as the tank. But JYJ still has a teeny tiny window here, laying down mines in the wake of these Dragoons. Bunker finishes, but the Marines were sniped. Bit of a precarious situation for JYJ. He's not quite doing the job that he was setting out to do. And with the Observer popping out, Best is just going to run by this bunker that's got nothing inside of it and pounce on that siege tank. I can't even believe how well held this attack was. Best is on a different level, man.
You've got to be kidding me. Best just handles that push. I really thought that JYJ was going to be able to take it there with those 2 tanks, but he lost that first tank. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that go down. Unreal. He managed to block that with the probes, and of course there was a bit of blocking there from the Marine as well. So some mistakes were for sure made. You gotta have the Marines in the front with the SCVs ahead of them as well, and then the tanks deep in the back so they can be quickly pulled away from the Dragoons as they're firing. But he wasn't able to keep that alive, and so just couldn't make it happen today. I don't know, Xun. JYJ really looking shaky.
I think so. I think that it's also a big testament to just how adept Best is in this early game defensive play. I think that's why Metropolis was a 3rd pick map for Best. He's so confident at smacking down timing attacks like our previous analysis suggested. I think that's why he picked the map, and that's why he wasn't threatened at all by the potential of a timing attack like JYJ decided to execute here. I mean, he's just so good with his probe control and understanding how to engage Terran players. Like, there's almost no other Protoss on the planet that can make those kind of defenses look as clean as that. It's so difficult to control the gap between the Dragoons and the Terran forces in terms of where you station your probes to both body block the Terran forces and remain in range of threat, so the particle beams can actually find connections eventually. Like, just the overall unit control and decision making from Best is on a different level. I mean, he definitely had his future armor bowler cap on there, making him a very intelligent ape indeed.
That is for sure. Best showing up here. Certainly the better player, made it through today, guys. A little bit unfortunate that it was so one-sided, but we've had a lot of those so far in the round of 16. You can see both players in the last two groups, Action and Hero, making it through 3-0. And now Best doing the same. His opponent is going to be chosen in our next episode, guys. In match number 6, we're going to have Barracks versus Ruin. The winner will be taking on Best. Not an enviable position. And then in match number 7, we're going to have Rush versus Tyson. And of course, the highly anticipated random from Bishop is going up against Saxery in match number 8.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing too surprising here. Every one of these matches we've called so far, saying all of our predictions have come true. My future predictions were Barracks was going to beat Ruin, Rush was going to beat Tyson, and Bishop, the random player, probably going to beat out Saxery, which is kind of looking like a top beating the bottoms here. Definitely the roles remaining true in the bedroom for these players. I'm not surprised at all. The only thing I think would be a bit of a game that's harder to call is that Barracks versus Ruin and the Bishop versus Saxery game. I'm not as confident about those predictions. I think that there are chances of that prediction being upset, but I still am going with those same ways of thinking for the time being. It'd be kind of funny though if every player that was on top is going to be the one going through. A little bit of a happy coincidence here.
That could indeed come to pass, but with the round of 16 nearing a close, guys, we're looking very good for this round of 8. Once we get into those best of 7s, oh my goodness, this is going to really start to heat up. Snow versus Royal, Action versus Hero so far. We're going to find out our other 2 matches in the coming weeks. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you've really enjoyed this SCSL Season 4 episode. And if you do enjoy this show, guys, make sure to support it. Head over to the Patreon. It's down in the link in the description. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.